Hello and welcome. This is TVC News Hour. I'm Blessing Idahusa.
And I am Mike Okwache. The headlines. South African Paralympian Oscar Pistorius starts 5-year jail term for culpable homicide. And fears of civil unrest loom in Egypt as government clamps down on universities. Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir declares re-election bid. Oscar Pistorius has finally been sentenced on the charges of culpable homicide.
Pistorius bagged a 5-year jail term for the Valentine's Day killing of his girlfriend River Steenkamp. Judge Thokozile Masipa, in her verdict, also gave Pistorius a 3-year suspended sentence for a firearms discharge offense. Tuesday's sentencing marks the end of the almost 2-year-old murder case.
Mr. Pistorius, please rise. The following is what I consider to be a sentence that is fair and just both to society and to the accused. Count 1, culpable homicide. The sentence imposed is the maximum imprisonment of 5 years imposed in terms of Section 276(1)(I) of the Criminal Procedure Act, number 51 of 1977. 2, on count 2, the contravention of Section 120, subsection 3B of the Firearms Control Act, number 60 of 2000. The sentence imposed is 3 years imprisonment, wholly suspended for 5 years, on condition that within the period of suspension, the accused is not found guilty of a crime where there is negligence involving the use of a firearm. Paragraph 3. The sentence in count 1 and the sentence on count 3 shall run concurrently.
The International Paralympic Committee has announced that Oscar Pistorius will not be allowed to compete at the Rio 2016 Paralympics, even if he is released from prison early. There are indications Pistorius could serve about 10 months in prison of the 5-year sentence. And if that happens, the IOC maintains he still stands barred from the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. The 27-year-old, a 6-time Paralympic track champion, made history at the Olympics at London 2012 when he became the first double amputee to compete.
Now, it was some satisfaction for the Steenkamp family after Judge Masipa's verdict. Speaking to reporters after the court session, Barry Steenkamp said it might not be what they hoped for, but they are comfortable with the verdict.
So what will happen is that Mr. Pistorius will go into jail for a minimum of 10 months. You've got to do 1/6 in terms of the provisions of the Act of your sentence. Thereafter, the correctional supervision, if your behavior is good and you don't cause any problems, etc., and they also look at your health and your condition, they can convert after you've done 1/6 of your sentence inside, so you don't sit the full 5 years. The balance of 4 years and 2 months will be converted to corrective supervision, house arrest, community service, and everything that needs to be done. Social programs, anger management, whatever the corrective services department feel is appropriate in the circumstances.
Well, Pistorius' uncle, Arnold Pistorius, said a convicted Paralympian will embrace the opportunity to pay back to the society.
The court has now handed down judgment and sentence, and we accept the judgment. Oscar will embrace this opportunity to pay back to society.
And however, the Women's League of the African National Congress has made submissions to the state on why it feels the sentencing should be appealed. Spokeswoman said the ANC Women's League remains dissatisfied with the verdict.
The ANC Women's League and the Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa We are saddened by this, and we are calling for national prosecution for an appeal. That's what we are asking for now. We are not happy with the verdict, and we are not happy with the sentence, because this is sending a very, very wrong message out there. We have people with disability, and they've been sentenced before, and it cannot change anything. We have laws in this country for men and women, and that are made by men and women in this country, and we are set.
Well, expectedly, South Africans are also reacting to the 5-year sentence.
I expected like 20 at least.
He should get like life sentence or something. The fact that he's a celebrity, they shouldn't be lenient on him.
Exactly. Obviously, it favors people with money. Yes. Obviously, because if it was just a random person, obviously it's going to be like a lifetime. It was not going to be, I don't know, be spoken about or discussed further. It's not fair. I don't think it's fair.
I think justice hasn't been served. The lady's life was lost. He should have get his life also been lost. So I don't think there's justice at all. Yeah, people with money is corrupt. They are being bought in the justice system, so I think that's unfair.
Money runs the world, that's it. If you have money, you can get away with a lot of things.
Absolutely terrible. Look, I don't agree with the judge to begin with, in terms of findings.
I think based on what the law has found, I mean, 5 years seems adequate. It's not that the guy goes around killing people on a daily basis. It's it's an isolated incident that happened. He was judged on it and he got sentenced on it. That's it.
Zimbabwean lawyer Charles Kwaramba now joins us to further discuss the verdict. Good to have you join us right now, Charles. Now, Judge Thokozile Masipa used the word what she feels is fair to the state and fair to Oscar Pistorius. Now, when you talk about fairness, and for a case like this, majority of people are coming to say they're dissatisfied with the judgment. What do you make of that kind of situation?
Well, thanks again. Good evening. Now, there must be a separation between emotions and public justice. Every judicial officer, once they have the house intention, once you have seen that what is the homicide, it's always almost for the judicial officer to go beyond like 5 years. So while the public feel that they should have gotten much more lengthier sentence, it's much more difficult for the judicial officer because the judicial officer has to draw a line between emotion and what he must do technically. Because also contingent must be the element of recognizing that he did intentionally murder the person. So there's a difficulty there. So from an emotional point of view, you may feel that there was no fairness. But from a technical legal point of view, it's almost always difficult to go beyond that kind of thing.
Well, we'll leave it at that for now. Charles Kwaramba, many thanks to you for joining us on Tvcnewshour. We had to cut short that interview because of poor audio report. We'll try to hook up with the Zimbabwean lawyer and bring more details on that story. Now, it was a long road to Tuesday's verdict. TVC News' Julieta Bata now takes us through the drama that preceded the sentencing.
Mr. Pistorius, please rise. The sentence in count 1 and the sentence on count 3 shall run concurrently.
The verdict finally brings to an end week-long hearings in which arguments were made by both the state prosecutor and the defense for and against a maximum prison sentence. The state prosecutor demanded at least a 10-year prison sentence, while the defense said the double amputee, Pistorius, should not be incarcerated because South African prison facilities are inadequate to accommodate his disability. South Africans are divided in their take on the sentence.
To kill a woman, 4 bullets, I think he deserves to go to jail because of he knew exactly who's behind the door.
Yeah, I think it should be considered. We should also consider the fact that only both of them knew actually what happened on that day.
If he was the other person, he would be sent to prison. He must pay for what he done. He shot 4 shots into a closed door unarmed woman, so he must be face consequences.
I think there is a strong case to be made that the circumstances are such that there are better sentences for him under these circumstances than direct imprisonment.
The trial has been one of the most closely watched, with viewers gripped by the dramatic fall of a man once admired as a symbol of triumph over adversity. The head of the prison service, Zach Modize, told the court on Thursday that if Pistorius were sent to prison, he will be committed to the hospital wing of one of South Africa's toughest prisons.
I had an opportunity to visit the Sing Sing correctional facility, my lady, where offenders are just locked up behind the grill. There is absolutely no privacy. And those are, from time to time, as a department, we do insight, introspection, and ask ourselves, are we in line with the constitution of this country, where people that have been incarcerated and sentenced, are they being treated in terms of the Bill of Rights?
Last week, social worker Annette Verger testified that Pistorius offered the Stinkams $34,000 from the sale of his car in what his defense team said was a sign of his sorrow at the pain he had caused them. But Stinkam's mother, June, rejected what she called blood money. Now that Pistorius has been handed a 5-year prison term and a 3-year suspended sentence for firearms discharge, many wonder if the Stinkams were satisfied with the verdict. They also wonder if Oscar Pistorius will appeal the judgment. Time will tell. Juliet Obata, TVC News.
As the new academic term begins in Egypt, riot police are standing guard at Cairo's university to stop any repeat of Islamist-led protests which turned campuses nationwide into battlefields. The authorities have tightened security at 12 leading universities across the country, including new security measures that ban all partisan activities on campuses. University officials are also allowed to expel disruptive students. More than 15 students were killed in the academic year that ended in April as pro-Morsi students fought battles with security forces after the Islamist was ousted by the then army chief and now President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Outgoing European Union Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton has called for peace in Libya as extreme violence intensifies in the country. 3 years after the overthrow of Muammar Gaddafi, the oil-producing desert state is in chaos with Islamists and other militias fighting for territories and influence. Speaking after a meeting of foreign ministers in Luxembourg, Ashton said the situation in Libya was extremely worrying. In the meantime, the United Nations has started negotiations to bring an end to the fighting among factions, but an alliance of Islamist militia groups have refused to take part in the talks. Now, staff of the United Nations African Mission in Darfur have paid their last respects to 3 Ethiopian peacekeepers killed in an attack by an unidentified group near Korma, North Darfur. The memorial ceremony took place at the mission's headquarters in El Fasher, capital of North Darfur. In attendance was UNAMID Force Commander Paul Meller, outgoing Joint AU-UN Special Representative Mohamed Chambers, who said the incident would not stop Ethiopia from its contributions to Darfur's search for peace.
This act of cold-blooded murder will not in any way deter the Ethiopian government, the Ethiopian people, the armed forces from continuing to play their role and make their contribution the search for peace in Darfur.
Coming up on TVC NewsHour. Medical relief charity group Doctors Without Borders celebrate 1,000 survivors of Ebola. We'll bring you details after this break. Thanks for joining us on TVC News Hour.
Now, hundreds of protesters in the Nigerian capital are calling on the government to show capacity to end the insurgency in the country's northeast. They blame the authorities for allowing corruption and impunity to thrive in the system.
The activists are converging in preparation for their march. With banners and posters on display, they hit the streets chanting solidarity songs. It's a long walk, but they're determined to go the distance. It lasts nearly 1 hour, and this man feels the impact as exhaustion sets in. But after a few minutes, he's up again and the struggle continues. Security officials try to contain the crowd and the traffic situation caused by the protest. The protesters are led by a former lawmaker who raises concerns over the increasing levels of corruption and insecurity in the country.
These demands are bordered on issues of intolerable level of corruption, impunity, gross incompetence, official misconduct, and threatening national security challenges. The Nigerian government should show capacity to contain and defeat the Boko Haram insurgents.
Worried about the insurgency in the northeastern region, Dino Malayib doesn't believe the government entered any ceasefire deal with Boko Haram.
Federal government ceasefire agreement is another lie, like many other lies that have been told by this government. When there's a ceasefire, both parties must have record, agreement of time and place. That was not done. And the federal government did not even tell us who will make up the team of those who went to negotiate on behalf of the federal government. And the president of Chad have not owned up that there's even any negotiation going on. So this issue of releasing the Chibok girls on agreement and negotiation is another ruse.
The activists say it's high time the authority takes up its responsibility and secure the lives of its citizens, especially those worst hit by insurgency.
Rescue our Nigerians, our fellow Nigerians in Northeast. Northeast is still part of Nigeria, and this insurgency and craze must stop. We need the truth. We do not need lies and arguments and denials.
The government should stop endemic corruption and deceit in the society, and the polity be recast to the part of responsibility and discipline.
The group had staged a similar protest on October the 1st, Independence Day, when it communicated its demands to the government. But the activists claim they have yet to get a response. For the activists, the struggle wouldn't end here. They have given the government a 21-day ultimatum to attend to the list of their demands. And if they're not met, they would be mobilizing series of protests across the country. Kelechi Amekalam, TVC News, Abuja.
The Nigerian Senate has adopted the report of a conference committee of both chambers of the National Assembly on the ongoing constitution amendment process. The adoption, which was unanimously supported, was called by Senate President David Mark. The high point of the adoption included independent candidacy, the local government autonomy, and scrapping of State Independent Electoral Commission, among others. The report is expected to be sent to the various state houses of assembly for a clause-by-clause consideration and vote on the proposed amendments.
Now, rape and other forms of sexual violence have become so widespread in South Sudan that a 2-year-old child was among the victims recorded by the United Nations on Monday. UN Special Representative Zainab Hawa Bangura, in a recent trip to the war-torn country, signed a communique with the governments outlining steps that would be taken to put an end to the crimes, adding that the message must be sent across the military's chain of command. Last month, the United States warned President Salva Kiir and rebel leader Riek Machar to engage in serious peace talks to end nearly a year of violence there or face sanctions.
Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir has declared his interest for re-election in the next presidential race. The Sudanese president made this announcement through an advisor and he has been in power since 1989 coup that brought him into power. He's the only sitting head of state wanted by the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes.
Well, Tunisians are gearing up for Sunday's upcoming legislative elections. The people will vote to elect their first parliament since the country's 2011 revolution. Meanwhile, the army says it is on high alert and ready to deal with any terrorist acts that is set to stop the election from running smoothly.
The Botswana Federation of Public Sector Unions has released a list of 14 parliamentary candidates that their names should not vote in the forthcoming elections. The unions believe that the candidates do not have their interests at heart. The list targets ruling Botswana Democratic Party candidates, with the Botswana Congress Party president being accused of engaging in attacks on labor movements and their leaders in political rallies and the social media. Others are the former Minister of Presidential Affairs, whom trade unions accuse of being at the forefront in chiding workers during the 2011 strike.
Now, almost 3 months after Uganda's constitutional court overturned an anti-homosexuality law that was branded draconian and abominable by rights groups, gays and lesbians in the country say they are still living in fear. Our East Africa correspondent Ken Karuri caught up with some members of the gay community in Uganda.
A quick look at Ronald Segomba, a young Ugandan in his mid-20s, and who just passed him for any other ordinary youth living in the quiet neighborhood of Namongo in eastern Kampala. What is however unique about the tall, lean lad is his determination to challenge a generally accepted norm in this deeply conservative society. Ronald is one of the few Ugandans to have come out publicly and declare that he is gay.
No, I'm not afraid of anything because I was afraid before. But when my parents came to realize that I'm gay, so they decided to cut off each and every supply they were giving me, tissue and everything. But I've been able to push on with life, so I live a normal life and I'm not afraid of anything because that's my sexual orientation.
Homosexuality is a taboo issue in much of Africa and is illegal in 37 countries on the continent. But the punishments laid out in Uganda are among the harshest. Ronald said the climate in Uganda for LGBTI people, a term referring to lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex, has been hostile.
Due to this bill introduction, I think it has brought more of stigmatization even before, because now someone coming to realize that this one is this and this, I think it's something which is like, it's not socially acceptable by most of the communities in Uganda and some African countries. So stigmatization now it's on its peak. Yeah.
The much publicized law, and which has now been overturned by Uganda's Constitutional Court, was signed by the country's President Yoweri Museveni earlier this year. It called for homosexuals to be jailed for life, outlawed the promotion of homosexuality, and obliged Ugandans to denounce gays to the authorities. The long-serving leader had initially dubbed the law fascist, but turned around and signed it, sparking speculation that the move was intended to boost his chances for re-election in the 2016 presidential election.
That's why I said I'm now going to sign the bill, because I am convinced with the available information that these people are not born like that. They just learn and they can unlearn what they have learned.
A constitutional court nullified the anti-homosexuality law in August this year, and which has brought some relief to some of the homosexuals here in Uganda. However, gay activists still maintain that homophobia still runs deep in this East African nation.
Nicholas Opio is one of the lawyers representing a group of 10 prominent Ugandans who challenge the law. He says despite the court nullifying the act, gay Ugandans still face victimization.
The debate that ensued after the law was introduced in Parliament in 2009 in this country planted the seed of discrimination, the seed of hatred. And that seed of hatred is growing every single day into really full-blown homophobia in this country.
Since the law was passed on the floor of Uganda's parliament in December last year, Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International say at least 17 people have been arrested based on allegations of same-sex conduct. Lawyer Opio say Uganda has much bigger problems to deal with than confront those advocating for gay rights.
The common person in Uganda doesn't rate the anti-homosexuality law top of the list of the things they want Parliament to discuss, because they are biting issues such as poverty, unemployment, poor health services, that affect people's lives more significantly than perhaps a gay man next door.
Meanwhile, back in Namwango, Ronald remains undeterred despite the numerous odds facing him. He has already been abandoned by his family, but insists he's not turning back. Ken Karuri, TVC News, Kampala.
As the deadly Ebola virus continues to ravage countries in West Africa, the World Health Organization has asked Uganda to host a meeting on the deadly Ebola virus. TVC News East Africa correspondent Ken Karuri is standing by with the details. Ken, can you bring us up to speed with this development and how it will help in fighting the epidemic there?
Yes, indeed. This is actually just information has been released by Uganda's Prime Minister, and who confirmed that Uganda has been requested by the World WHO to go ahead, rather by the WHO to go ahead and convene a week-long meeting, which will be discussing ways in which countries that are affected by the Ebola epidemic can be able to learn from the experience. Remember, Uganda had a very successful story in terms of combating the Ebola virus. It has had some numerous cases in the past, including that devastating case 14 years ago in year 2000, and which resulted in about 425 people who were hospitalized, who were sick, and that led to the death of about half of that number. And then later on, they were able to, they were still able to manage that particular case and moved on. Then about 2 years ago, we had yet another case of Ebola here in Uganda, and there were about 4 people who were confirmed to have succumbed to the disease. But what is actually more important is that the country's health ministry was able to galvanize and marshal all the support, and was able to isolate all the victims, and it was able to contain the virus, as opposed to what is happening in West Africa, where we are looking at the disease which is ravaging a number of countries, Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone.
All right, Ken, just last month, Uganda also hosted a regional surveillance. Now, what steps have the countries in East Africa made in confronting a potential Ebola attack similar to what countries in West Africa are facing?
Yes, that's right. And we had Uganda actually hosting that meeting in that last week of September here, actually in the western part of Uganda. A number of countries were represented, mostly from the region in East Africa, as well as some from COMESA and SADC, and they all came to learn ways in which they can be able to contain, an imminent attack if it happens in their countries or in their region. And Uganda's being a success story, it was actually important for them to come and learn from on the best practice. We're looking at countries, like Kenya, for instance, which have gone ahead and put in place a number of measures to ensure that they're able to contain any case that might be